Welcome to the Driver Xperience podcast, where we talk about all things automotive related and automotive things that are for automotive gods like us. So today we have two special guests. We have Scotrod, the drag racing legend, and we have Marcus French. Scott, could you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got started with your driver experience, and where it all began?
Hey, Rodney, Scott Pennington. Look, as far as where I started, I don't even know where that happened, but it just continued on from a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah, but I've been just trying to work on it and make it better, but it goes like it goes.
Yeah. And what about you, Marcus?
I've been in love with cars since a toddler, like my son, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the experience started then, but I would also say I'm kind of new to it, like where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved cars and I've always built cars, but now I'm like finally getting my hands on it, you know. So
Does that stem where you're from? Is there like a big car enthusiast where you're from?
what was your question?
Does that stem from because of where you're from? There are a lot of car guys where you're from.
No, not really. I would say it's in my blood, man.
Where
Like
you from?
Utah, Alabama.
Utah,
town.
Alabama.
Yep.
Like
Right.
spelled like the state Utah?
No, EUTAW.
Uh-huh.
It's more of like Native American, you know, like Utah.
Okay.
It's like a tribe, like Choctaws in Utah, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
And you, Scott, you're from Louisiana?
Yeah, from Metairie.
Metairie.
Metairie, brah. Yeah, but we came from there and moved out to Slidell, which was considered the country, you know, back in the day. And that lasted for a minute. And everybody started migrating out here, and it's pretty much, I'm not going to say it's like New Orleans, but it's, you know, it's working.
It's been working pretty good, though, huh? You like the area? You're
It's
still
up
here?
and down. You know, the biggest problem you have with Slidell is with Slidell.
Yeah, it's true.
You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
These people are not very nice for a person trying to start a new business. You know,
Right.
If you can't afford to buy a brand new building and put everything in this thing to come up to every code imaginable, which I don't know who's going to come to Slidell to do that. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing you would make people if you were really happening place. But we're talking about Slidell, drive-through town. You got gas stations and fast food, and we got to come to all these crazy regulations just to have a car shop. It's crazy.
So that's kind of funny that you brought up Slidell being a drive-through town, right? But so I actually personally know both of you guys. Scott, I think we've been knowing each other for 8 years. Marcus, I think we've been knowing each other for probably about a little over 13, 14 almost. It's been a while. And Scott, I've been around the world. I've been in the car community for a real, probably over half my life. So even since I was a kid with lowriders and things like that, I've been involved. And then for me traveling around the world and experiencing different types of industries and parts of the car culture, for this to be a pass-through town, you're a god amongst men, some would say. Some would say you're a god amongst men. Do you have a extensive history? Your chassis that I'm personally familiar with, your chassis building from your drag engines, your drag history. I know you were a big key player in the drag racing community for a while at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I've been off for a little while. It's like when you're out there doing all that stuff, you're not really getting ready for the end of the year. End of the thing. So you got to work on that a little bit. Make sure you got money coming, even when you can't. Even when you can't get the money, you gotta have something coming in. So you gotta work on that a little bit. I mean, I got a lot of parts. I got a new car. I got a few things. I got but the problem is I know what I need. So there's no sense in even trying to put it together until I got it all. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just got a few more pieces, parts, and I can put it together. And it's crazy. Once you get a car to the point to where you can hit the key and start it up and hear it running, everything starts to align after that.
Right.
I'm talking about, it all starts to work. But as long as that car is a dead piece of steel laying there on jack stands, it'll never happen. You got to get it to the point you can turn the key. Because once you turn the key and you hear it, well, now you're really in. You know what I mean? It's one thing to want it and watch other people do it. But once you have that control, it's like, man, that's all that matters. I know it sounds crazy, but
no, it doesn't sound crazy. I feel like projects for some people, everybody And I'm guilty of it too. Everybody has that project that they need to work on. I think we all at this table have a project that we need to work on. And for a reason that we probably are not working on it is, it's probably as reasons, either finances or time, paying the bills. The bills got to be paid, right? And the bills ain't gonna be paid with your car.
And I hate to even try to come up with an excuse like that, because that was never like that when I was doing it. I'm talking about, dude, I had one year we were going to a race in Norwalk, Ohio. And the engine seemed like it was really happy. It's all good. It's still together, and it's running really well. I said, man, I'm going to go to that race. I think we can do pretty good. Well, from Slidell to Norwalk, Ohio is about to cost you some money, to get up there. And I put what I could get together. And actually, see, back in the day, a microwave was worth something. I hocked the microwave for the extra money from that, and we went up there and won the race. So that, and the best part about it was nobody wanted to go. So I took my 8-year-old son, Blaine. He went to Norwalk, and he was driving a 4-wheeler, pulling the car back and forth, 8 years old, and we won the race.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's like you never know when it's going to happen if you're not able to control the situation. If you got enough money and you got enough parts and you know what you're doing, you can control it. But when you don't know, it's kind of a Cinderella type thing, but it worked out pretty good there.
Scott, I think I've told you this before, and for all my people out there who watch this show, I actually owe where I'm at in the car industry 100% to you. As crazy as that may say, because before I was, and Marcus, you know about this, I was that small block Chevy, put a carburetor on it. You know what I mean? I wasn't really doing shit, man. I was just, doing what I thought was doing, right?
Yeah.
And then how I met Scott was I was in need of I think it was a ball joint for I had a 04 Lincoln, 04 Lincoln LS, man. And it needed a ball joint, and it was rattling down the road. And somebody told me, "Hey, man, your wheel's about to fall off." And I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, "Oh, I need to tighten this ball joint." And I pulled in off the main road, and I saw Scott's shop, and they were like, "Oh, go check this guy out. He's pretty good." I'll go check him out. Dude, he jacks my car up. He sits down, looks at what I got, and this dude that I didn't even know, sits down in the rocks, crosses his legs Indian style. Grabs an impact and I think a pry bar, and he was like, "Oh, I got this." And then he just, tightens it up, and I'm good to go. And we kept rolling, and he even charged me nothing. So I came back, and I kept coming around, hanging around, and I started looking at what he was doing, and I'm like, I really like the way this dude is moving, man. He's really building some cool stuff. And I actually got to see like the type of person he is. And then I actually got to see everything. And then before you know what it turned into, days turned into weeks, weeks turned into fucking months, and months turned into years. And now we have the friendship that we have now.
Yeah.
But the main important thing that I learned from him, dude, he taught me how to like not give up when I have a difficulty. I kid you not, dude. I've seen this man do some stuff that I would have been like, hell no, and stop. And he taught me, dude, my own daddy didn't even teach me this. He taught me, dude, just because when shit gets tough, that doesn't mean quit. You're going to have to push through it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was a real valuable lesson. And from there, I just stuck to him like glue, and I learned a lot. And then it got me to where I am today for me to spread out. Yeah. No one took the time to show me that game.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, he didn't charge me for it, y'all.
Yeah.
He didn't charge me for it. I appreciate that, man. Oh, yeah. So where would you say your car experience started, though?
Man, that's the crazy part. It was like back in the younger days, we were just playing with cars. Well, actually, I could back up a little farther than that. My dad actually used to have a Volkswagen Bug and a Carmen Gear. He liked those Volkswagens, but probably because they were cheap. You know what I mean? And he couldn't fix the oil leak on this thing to save his life. And we was always, on the weekends, we'd have this motor apart, pull it out the car, whatever we had to do to get it running, to get it back in and not leaking. And, we did it enough times to where when he went to work, I could pull the engine out myself, which is like 4 bolts and a hot wire and a gas line, on a Volkswagen. It was real easy. But yeah, I did it with a hand truck, pulled it in and out of there, stood it up, got it, pulled it out, take it all apart, and he would play with it. But yeah, doing it like that. And then that was all over with probably till about 15, 16. And then started getting into it a little bit. And at the time, we had some cars here in town They used to run out about 90, stuff like that back in the day. And I mean, just probably talking about 11, 12-second cars. But when you running 14s, those look like rocket ships, back then.
Wait. You were running 14s?
Yeah.
And when was this? What year?
A 1432 was I was running with a 69
It's a quarter
Cougar.
mile.
Yeah.
Ford 69 Cougar.
69 Cougar, 256,000 miles. Dude, when I pulled the motor out and rolled it over, it sounded like it had a chain in the oil pan. All the piston skirts were in the pan, wore out, but it kept running, never did stop. But I went from that and I went to a 67.
You had the Cleveland?
Nope, just regular old Windsor, 2-barrel Windsor. And of course, we put a 4-barrel and put a cam. They had a place back in the day called Jake's Speed Shop.
Jake's
Yep.
Speed Shop.
Jake's
that was here in
Speed Shop.
Slidell?
Oh, that was in New Orleans. And everybody got off of work on Fridays and all stood in line and got their parts and went home with what they thought they needed. I mean, you couldn't order nothing back then. Whatever they had, that's what you had.
They still around?
No, they've been gone. But old Jake's, that was the place. That's where we got it. That's where we got started from. It was right there, And went to an older Cougar with a little better motor, and then I put that motor in a Pinto, and I terrorized it around here for a long time with that because that was a 10-second car, and nobody was ready for that.
10-second win.
Huh?
10-second win.
Oh, think about it, back in the early 80s.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
Now, a 10-second car in the 80s, I wasn't there.
No.
What was a 10-second car like in the 80s?
Unbeatable.
Really?
Yeah, nobody could beat that.
Explain.
Nobody had a car that was that fast, But it's just that was fast. I remember I told you when all the heavy hitters was running, they was running 11s.
Yeah.
And then we run a low, 1030 like that with that car. No roll cage and no nothing. They let me run one time at Gulfport, and then they tell me to get off the track. But I would come out there on a Wednesday night and run it hard as it would go, and then they'd send me home. But I never was really into the bracket racing thing. It seemed kind of boring. But to see if I can make the car go faster.
With a Windsor. Yeah. They got guys now that can't run 10 seconds with a Windsor.
Oh, man, I know guys that's got supercharged and nitrous can't run a 10.
Ouch.
Ouch. I'm talking about, dude, it really isn't that hard to take a 306 cubic inch motor and run 10s with no nitrous and no supercharge. But people don't know, but they good salesmen. They sell these guys everything they don't need. But anyway.
And what about you, Marcus?
As far as where my journey started?
Yep.
Like I said, from a kid, I've always just been fascinated with cars. Like my dad and his brothers, they have pretty much a collision center right now, right? They've had it for like the past 30 years. And even though me and him, we're not
It's in
close.
Alabama?
No, they're in New York. That's where I was born at.
Oh, New York City or New York State?
The state.
Okay, like
Long
state
Island.
guys?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Queens.
no.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's
So-
New York. That's New York City. That's out
Yeah.
here?
So moved down south and everything. Like, it was popular down south, box Chevys and stuff like that in Alabama. So
I love me a good box.
yeah, they're classics.
I love me a good box, man.
But as I've traveled, like my taste for cars has just evolved, and we've been on our journey since what I say 2012 with cars, and I can say you've influenced the change in what my taste is in cars,
Which is kind of funny because it kind of stems from him.
Yeah,
It kind of stems from him. Yeah, it kind of stems from him. That evolution. The more I know, the more other people know, and it all stems. And I think that's a good way to to demonstrate how knowledge is passed down in a sort.
Yeah.
And Scott, for you coming from your wealth of knowledge, how is that seeing your knowledge being passed down, and when you see it not somebody not being accepting to it or perceptive to that knowledge?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you get around guys and they come in the shop, they want to do a little work, they want to do something like that, and right away you're going to try to see, even if they're not real mechanical, there's always something that they might be able to do good, even if it's just sanding this car down. You know what I mean? But I always, when I get a guy in there, I don't try to turn them out because they don't know what they're doing. I try to show them something that their skill will allow them to do. And hopefully that way, when they start doing it, they like it, and then they learn more. But you get a lot of guys. You show them this much, and they got the dryer unplugged at their mama's house, and with a Harbor Freight welding machine stuck in the wall, and they They were welding people's car together. They don't understand. It's like you actually have somebody's life in your hands when you're building a car. It's not a game. It's not a game at all. It's got to be safe. It's got to be strong, but it needs to be as light as it can be. You know what I mean? But strong enough to do the job. And that's the thing, you try to have standards of what you want to do. And the biggest problem you have is people are going to come to you and go, oh, man, what's his name did it for this much and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, why don't you call what's his name? You know what I mean? You got a guy, you got a guy for that, right? You got a guy for that? Go do it, man. I'll tell you what, if he can do what I just told you for what you're talking about, tell him to come over here. Let me smooth him out and I'll put him to work. You know what I mean? Because it's really hard nowadays to find guys that are susceptible to learning stuff. And the whole thing is because they've never been around it. In their younger days, they never pulled a Volkswagen motor out with a hand truck. You know what I mean? They just never been around it, so they never got turned on to it, put it that way. And the whole thing, whenever you turn somebody on to something, you got to come in, like what we were saying earlier, you got to come in on something that looks like they can finish, they can do, because accomplishment is what gets you all the way there. I'm talking to my son the other day. He just built a mild steel, his first car he built, a mild steel chassis. He put all the Tesla stuff in it. And I was telling him the whole time he's working on it, because it's been about 2.5, 3 months. I told him, I said, son, this is what you got to understand in your mind when you build a car like this. Well, as you're building it, you're going to see things that you did earlier that you're not going to like. You want to go backtrack. So you have to have your whole plan, what you want to do, and run through it. You can always build another car. But if you keep tearing this one down and changing it, making it different, you're never going to get it finished. You see what I'm saying? It's like you have to have a plan. How fast you want to go. What do you want to do with this car? Get your money together, because it's going to cost this much to go that fast. And if anybody can do it cheaper than me, I'll shake their hand. Because I do it because I like it. You know what I mean? As long as I got my money, my bills is paid, and all my stuff's going. I've worked on many guys' cars for peanuts. I mean, you know that. I just like doing it. I know it's not a good businessman thing.
That's not a good business motto, but I definitely
I feel like my business is more handled at the track. My business is more handled at the track.
That's your resume right there.
Yeah.
Like what's the car doing? Like, because if you go out there and you run sixes.
I can watch these guys that's on here on TV. Mm-hmm. They got $500,000, $1 million cars, and they're out there running, and I can watch and see what they're doing and see what the car is doing, and I could probably go make them faster with a crescent wrench. You know what I mean? I've seen that. It's not being cocky. It's being 61 years old and doing it for 40 years, or 45, 50 years. You know what I mean? It's a different thing. And that's what people don't get about it is you're a young guy, you're ready to go, you want to learn all this, you want to get into it. Who could carry you farther? The dude that talks about the magazines or the guy that does it? You know what I mean? And it's like, I try to prove that point. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I mean, I've had cars that guys wanted to build, and they could have been anything they wanted to be. But they start talking to their partners and doing things like that, and they start wanting to make changes, and then they don't have enough money to finish it. And
I think a big part of that is especially out here, because here where we live, the predominant form of racing is drag racing, right? And we know racing changes and depending on where you are geographically. Mm-hmm. Like as you go further out west and into the mountains, they have road course racing, which is really popular. When you go further east, going into Asia, road course racing and sprint racing. And if we go the opposite east, to like Europe, they're in the hill climb, which I personally do time attack and hill climb myself. But the hill climb, and I can respect racing in all its forms, right? But one thing I think is universal is the process of building the car.
Right. That's the thing. It's like you have to have a plan. You have to get through it. The longer it sits there, the less enthusiasm you have. You know what I mean? It's like if it takes you longer than a year to take a car off the pipe rack and put it on the track, there's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? There's going to be a problem because you're going to all of a sudden it's like, man, I can get a bigger supercharger. I can do this. I can do that. Big turbos. I can make all these changes. And it's like, man, I don't even know if you got enough money to finish the first plan. You know what I mean? Now here you go off on another rant. It's like, come on, man.
One thing I did notice being down here, and Marcus, I know you've had a big problem down here with getting cars finished. I know you didn't step off into doing cars yourself, but I know now that you've made that shift into doing cars yourself. Why?
Down here, I don't know. It's a different tempo. Like when I really started getting cars in my younger 20s, I was out west and it was no problem to get anything done. Like you drop your car off in a week, you get a phone call, come pick it up and just drop off the money. But down south, I'm still trying to figure out what it is. And yeah, for the past, I would say 6 years, I've just had bad luck going to paint shops, getting motor work done, so I decided to just jump into it myself, and I can't explain it, but I'm getting cars built in like myself in less than a month, like drop, swap, paint it, like everything done.
You remember your Mustang, the bumper, you had that destroyed front bumper.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We were building it was the 04 Mark 1.
Okay, yep.
And we wanted that 99 Cobra bumper that it was only dropped on one new edge for I think 1 year.
Yeah.
I think it was like 1 year or 2 years.
That's a 9901.
99. Okay. Yeah. So 3 years. 3 years for that bumper. But it was like a really hard to find bumper.
Yeah, I got that one from Oregon. And my cousin, who's into cars as well, we have the same, our dads are brothers. We're related on both sides. Gooch.
Yeah.
While he was doing Hot Shot, I'm looking for all these parts and, cars and stuff like that. And he just so happened whenever he would be in an area, I would look in that area to see what's available. And we found that bumper out in Oregon and he went out and got it for me and brought it down straight to you. And we brought it to Scott.
Which is wild because that bumper had some damage.
Yeah.
And Scott, I kid you not, Scott had did like one of the most beautiful paint jobs. I don't even know how he repaired it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We took it to him and it was done 3 days. It was probably less. Probably less. It was done. He looked at it. And then we know Scott is the Mustang guru. We'll get into that in just a second. But Scott took this bumper and he really did some magic on the car. And if you guys haven't checked out Marcus's car, he'll give you his Instagram and his social media, so you guys can check that out later.
Oh, yeah.
Scott, when did you start getting into body work, man? Because you were a pretty prized painter, and I know you don't claim to be a good painter, but dude, some of the work I've seen you pull off is pretty nice. It's exceptionally nice.
Well, you figure back in the early to mid 90s, they had a lot of car problems with the paint. Paint was chipping off the cars and everything. Well, it's like all of a sudden we're shooting 2 cars a day. Well, I was. You know what I mean? My guys is getting them ready, and we painting one in the morning and one at night.
Is this
switch it out, do it all over again? Doing those cars.
This is in your paint booth, or did you in the 90s? Did you already have
This was just a shop had on the service road down there, kind of like where the strip place used to be.
Yeah.
But in the back there, we had a nice paint booth back there, nice big long. You drive it in there, pull it out, and just kept it moving like that. And I had the chassis shop on one side and then the paint shop on the other. So they would get it all ready. I'd paint it, and I'd go back next door and go back to welding and doing whatever. And then in the evening, before I left, go in there and paint that one. Come back in the morning, they'd get it all out, get the other one in, and shoot it. Well, we painted hundreds of cars, like that. And but that was later on. I was probably about 16 years old, and my mom hooked me up with a guy that had a little shop here in town. And he was painting a lot of old, like 55, 57 Chevys, stuff like that. Old pitch black, acrylic enamel paint jobs, really thick and heavy and a lot of runs and, a lot of problems. And this guy, being around a guy that has problems and is able to correct them, that's what teaches you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you can get in and paint a car and just wish it well. Mm-hmm. But this guy would paint the whole car, man. It was black and it was slick and it ran off the hood and lined up a big run down the hood. And, we just got in there and DA'd it all down and he painted again. There wasn't no fixing, trying to buff it out. Nothing. DA'd this whole car down if we had to. Mm. The whole thing. I mean, sit there with a DA and just bust the whole car down, get it back in the booth and paint it again. So I learned a lot about sanding when I was with him because those cars are round. There's hardly a flat surface on a 57 Chevy. You know what I mean? You got to DA this whole car down without squaring it anywhere. You know what I mean? But I did all that, and then as far as body work, I did a lot of Bondo stuff back in the day, just like building whole panels on cars and everything, and work it all out and do it. But yeah, I'm really not afraid of any kind of body work stuff. I had so many crazy questions from my paint supplier that she finally put me into PPG school.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
And I went in there and found out I got my certification stuff and all. But I went in there and I sat in the back row. I had a big list of things I was going to tell them about the crap products.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
And I'm sitting in the back row and I'm watching all these guys. And this guy get up and he answer a question. It was like, that's a question. They would tell him what it is. Oh, okay. Just like that off. Then the next thing, oh, damn, no shit. Okay, slide down. Before, I didn't have any questions because everybody was having the same problems. And mainly the problem was mixing, not mixing correct. It's chemicals. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The guy built this in the laboratory. It's got to be just like this. And you're pouring it all together and then wonder why it dies out one time, runs the next time. It's dry right away, and all these things. And those problems all stem from mixing the product.
And Marcus, you actually started stepping off into painting stuff yourself too now, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yep, started this year. Really with building the motors, like, I guess you could say with the cars, like I'm more fascinated with the beauty of it versus like the beast of it, like
right.
Scott is, Like,
okay, yeah. I get that. I get that.
I'm about the opposite way.
Yeah,
yeah. Like,
but no, man, Scott, you've done some things that are really nice and really fast. I've seen it. I've seen you put together some cars that are really nice and really fast.
Well, I mean, if there's time for it, when we were racing on the circuit, the cars had to be nice because it was always going to be in the magazines. You know what I mean? So you always had to have nice, some kind of catchy paint thing. And my red and white car, I get a lot of shit about what that paint looked like.
Red and white car?
Yeah, the red and white Fox body.
Tell us about it.
I was the one we ran back in Fun Ford weekend. Made it to number 2 in the country with that car. And that car, man, I had this thing in my head, what I wanted it to look like. And I don't know if it was close or not, but it came out like it did. But it looked good. The quality was there. Quality was there, but it was just kind of a strange looking thing. But at the time, it had a lot of strange stuff going on. Back in the late 90s and all of that.
Yeah.
Everybody was dabbling before the sticker craze came off with the I'm gonna wrap my car. What? I don't even get that. But anyway, because we used to paint whatever you wanted on there. And now they put a sticker over the car. And
there's still a all. Like some people like the wraps because it's like, oh, I can change the color whenever. But I've seen paint jobs and I was expecting somebody to tell me, oh, it's a wrap. And somebody told me it was a paint job, and it's like, oh, you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, dude, I'm doing a Cutlass right now. I'm gonna. I talked him out of the LS thing and all that. It's like you just need a driver. You know what I mean? You need a driver. All it's got to do is ride around. I said, you put the LS in there, you're gonna think you got a race car. You know what I mean? Because they all think that things are fast. But anyway, that's a whole nother episode there. But the Cutlass, it's got the 350 and all that in there. You can do a
350 rocket motor.
Yeah, you do a couple little things in there, just to make it sound like it's doing something, and just drive it around. Because the guy that's getting the car isn't a race car guy anyway. He's got
more like what he said. You want to look good. You want to look good and roll. Putting
the 24s on it. And it's going to be a blue bowling ball paint. And you know how long it's been before somebody asked me about that?
That's that old school paint right there, man.
Somebody comes in, they ask me something like that. I'm like, when are we going to do this? You know what I mean? Because, that's what makes it fun. Going in the car and paint the thing, man, anybody can do that. But laying down 7 or 8 colors together with outlines, you know what I mean? And then getting clear on top of that and having all those lines come out clean and pretty, that's a lot of work. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work, little camera hair brush and painting all those points and doing all that stuff and then go back and airbrush and little bolts and all kind of stuff in it. It's like that, when you finish that car, you got something. But, it's candy apple red. Whoopee. That's another thing. It's like once you know how to spray that, it's not hard. But when you don't know, I got this one, I got to spray that on. And then I got this one I'm spraying on. It's like, no. You're going to be mixing all that shit to about the last 3 coats, and then it's just going to be red. You know what I mean? You mix the two together until you get your color, what you like. Then you put about 2 or 3 coats of the tin on it, and then hit it with the clear. But dudes will try to do the whole base color and then try to bring it all the way to red off that gold. and they get blotches all around, dog spots, but they overlapping on the door edge to the fender. And, I had an old guy, I was over in New Orleans, and he painted tons of vets back in the day. When I was working with Mike over at 4x4, he used to come to the shop and get all kind of, mechanic work, chassis work, whatever, done on his car. And I heard he was the painting guy. And I mean, this guy's like coughing. He's probably never had a mask.
Wow.
All those
No,
crazy,
he got
all
the
those
bad
crazy
health.
paint chemicals and everything in the paint booth for hours, And
Is he still around?
no, but yeah, he told me. He says, yeah, man. He says, no, he says, you mix those colors together. It's going to be heavy one way, and then go back to the, then it's going to heavy with the gold base and the red, and then slowly move out until it's the heavy red. The heavy red, and that's you do it like that, it comes out perfect every time.
Rolling.
But yeah, but it's still a straight color. Doesn't do anything for me. I like all that stuff, going on. Checkered flags down underneath the bottom, barely can see them. You look
ghost
down.
stripes.
Yeah, you look down in it. There it is. If you looking from the side, I don't see nothing.
I remember one guy had came in and he had like some ghost stripes on his car. And then he thought it was just like the baddest thing. You should have seen this dude. He came in. He was like, yeah, man, I just got the paint job on it. Just got them ghost stripes on there. I was like, oh, you got ghost stripes on there? And I think it was us and like the dude you had paint at the time. We go out there and we looking at it like, oh yeah, man, it's cool. And then Scott comes, the dude leaves. Scott's like, I did that back in '83.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that happens a lot. It's like you can do a guy's car and it'd be all nice and it's working out real good, and then you hear people talking about it, and that dude built it. You know what I mean? And your name don't even pop up. You know what I mean? But then I know a lot of other times you'll have a guy did a bunch of work in the backyard, and he's selling the car now, and he's telling the guy Scotrod did this to it, Scotrod did that. And it's like, well, hold up, I never worked on that car.
Oh,
But
wow.
they feel like that's going to help them sell it. You know what I mean?
Give it an edge.
But they got to be talking to the right people, because it doesn't matter what you do,
Yeah.
you're always going to have haters. You know what I mean? Haters are people that can't do it.
Yeah.
They
I
talk
feel like
about
if you don't have haters, you're not doing it right.
Hey, right.
Right, because I mean, you got to be doing something from the hate. You know what I mean? You got to be doing it like that. But yeah, I've had situations with people, but most of my people that I've worked for, they would always come back, get something else done. If they ever thought about doing something, they're gonna be back. And having a little rough go with the moving around here lately, but shop moving. I mean, you figure it's gonna take three years to get a shop known where it's at and get it going. The thing that helps me is just people knowing me. But they got to figure out where it's at and all of that. It's a vicious cycle when you're starting over like that.
Yeah.
So did you start painting, Marcus, because you were having bad issues with painters?
No, I mean, I started painting when I started building the engines, like you showed me, of course, right? So, and the number one rule,
Which he showed me.
Yeah. We don't build ugly motors. And I'm like,
Yeah, I said that.
I said that. Yeah.
And I learned that from him. I learned that from Scott, actually.
Yeah.
I tried to put a motor together, and he was like, no. Like,
And-
if you're going to do it,
Yeah.
do it right.
Man, there ain't nothing else you can do but do it right.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like now, I mean, that was only like a year ago. And I would say I just started, this year really taking it seriously. And like, it's funny because I was talking to my body guy yesterday, and he was telling me, he's like, dude, you have the cleanest LS swaps in the city. And I'm like, looking at him, and I'm kind of like, I'm just thinking he's gassing me up. He's like, dude, I'm my son. And I'm like, that says a lot, then,
Yeah, because he goes, dude, look, that oven cleaner, man, I learned, man,
Yeah.
cleaning them up.
Yeah.
And
It's an old school trick.
yeah,
Can't
dude.
beat it.
Like I said, I learned that from Scott. Scott told me, man, go to Dollar General. Hey, I wish I could see this. Like he'll walk up and be like, man, what you gotta do?
Yeah.
And it's never like, he'll never tell you like, oh, you fucking it all up.
Yeah.
He'll speak from like a
That's a nice approach.
like
yeah.
and I respect it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that makes me more receptive to like, okay, I can take that.
Because your guard is down, you're not getting offensive off of the how they're bringing it to you,
Yeah.
It's not aggressive. Yeah. That's a nice way to go about it. That's a nice
I think
angle.
I think what I feel is happening in the car industry as a whole, and I believe like CJ that was on the podcast previously, we were talking about how the car industry we're losing vehicles but gaining enthusiasts in the car community.
Yeah.
You know,
see that.
like they're like cars. Not even many cars come with manual transmissions anymore. Now you got a 10-speed that it will do everything for you. Don't get me wrong; these 10-speed cars, they fast though, man. They fast
and they strong. I mean, I have no problems with it. It's like it's going to shift itself. That's fine with me. Gang. I mean, I like that stuff. But no,
crazy.
The hardest thing about it is, now you got to learn about all that. You got to program this thing. You got to get it all right. Takes a little time to get it right. You go to guys that know about it, and they don't want to give you nothing. You know what I mean? You can't get nothing out of them. So you got to sit there and pay them to do the job and watch everything that's happening. Stay there the whole time. It's on the dyno and all that, and watch what they're doing and see if they really even doing anything. I've been to many dyno places, and I'm watching what they're doing. I'm like, what did you do? No, that's not working. I mean, it's like you get there making this much horsepower and you leave making the same thing. It's like we really didn't do anything, but it's still going to cost you a couple grand.
Yeah, some tuners. I feel like some tuners are really not. I think some people have bad experiences with tuners, and I believe they have these bad experiences with these tuners because of what they're wanting, and they're kind of going off of what they're seeing on social media, or or they're really not either doing their research. Because granted, if you see 5 good comments or 5 good reviews, you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, this guy, like for my Skyline, I took my Skyline to Florida because, dude, I did weeks of research to find out who could tune my vehicle, and I watched what was happening with this guy's tuning. I found the right person, and I took my vehicle to get the tune. Do you feel like it's like a regional thing? Because here, dude, trying to find somebody to tune a car in our area, it's not. It's tough. It's tough. It's not easy. Versus like if we were in Texas and we needed a car tuned, or if we were in Florida and needed a car tuned, you got different tuners for different things. Now we talking about different type of tuning, right? Because tuning would be like vehicle specific. Some people would say, if you got a JDM car, you need to find a JDM tuner. But one thing I will say what about your area? Before I say this, what about your area? Like, do you have people that are easily accessible for tuning?
No, last car I tried to get tuned, they scheduled me like a month and a half out, and by that time I sold the car.
And this is in the Southern Alabama area,
Mobile area, Gulf Coast.
Okay,
area, yep.
So here, like if you mainly down here, everybody I think you either got some Mopar, like a new style Mopar. You either got the Chevrolets. Not many people here do Ford tuning. Yeah, there's one guy running around with a twin turbo new Mach 1, and he is whooping everybody ass. I mean, dude, this dude, I got to pull up his Instagram, but there's a guy out here, he has like a twin turbo Mach 1, and I'm talking about spanking people.
Yeah.
Got the hood exits and everything. This dude he's ripping and running. He just constantly posts videos of him destroying people.
Yeah.
And that could be for publicity purposes. He probably not showing his losses. Who would, right?
Right.
But and he got that 10-speed, man, whooping ass with that 10-speed. But he works at Ford though, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like that's a who you know and what you know type deal in this area.
Do you feel like there's like gatekeeping on that?
Definitely down here.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
in your area as well. Because some people, I think there are some tuners, but they're just not known. Some people will, like, you have carburetor tuners, right? Like people who tune like Dominator setups and things like that. Like where would you go in the area for like a Dominator tune?
I would do it. I have sent carburetors to these guys and do things with you can name anyone you want. I brought them all over the place to different people, and they'll tell me, "Oh yeah, man, we're gonna get 2/10 out of that thing."
Oh wow.
Get the carburetor back, put it on there. Yeah. 2/10 the wrong way. It's slow.
He said 2/10 the wrong way.
It's like, wait a minute, and how's that gonna happen? But and then they start talking about it's a bad day, that the weather's really bad and everything else. And I tell you, I said, that's one thing about this car, it always runs the same way. And we took his carburetor, I'll put the other carburetor back on at the track and went right back to our normal time. It's I don't see how a guy can feel like he can tune a carburetor without the engine being there. You know what I mean? You got to be able to, you got to set it up for the motor, not just the cubic inch. But when you buy a carburetor like that, that's what they're doing. Going by normal math situation. And that'll get you close.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Holly fuel injection, you know.
I kind of want to touch into that because, like I said, we're all in the southern area, so drag racing is the predominant racing here, right?
Yeah.
You got all kinds of parts of drag racing. I kind of want to touch on like what drag racing started as and like what it is now. Scott, you would be perfect to have this conversation with because you've seen drag racing at an early stage, right? And then some people say, "Yo, dude, drag racing started as soon as the second car came off the line."
Yeah,
Right.
Which I think is true, right?
Yeah.
First car was made. Woo. Second car was made. Boom. Racing was started. Probably even before that with two dudes on horses and carts.
Oh yeah, always racing. Always
Drag racing probably go. I would love to see the first horse cart race. Right. Yeah. Imagine that. Just this. Line it up, buddy.
You figure.
Not that truck.
Oh yeah, when them flatheads came out in the 30s, I mean that was the thing. You know what I mean? Everybody had that. Then Chevy back in the 50s, they come out with their little small block, which is such a better design on airflow. You know what I mean, compared to what you get out of that flathead, and that ran for a long time because once the aftermarket picks you up and starts making parts for you.
Oh, you doing?
Well, now you got everything you need.
You doing it?
And I mean, you got everything you need to do it. How can you go wrong? You got heads, you got this, you got that, and then you're a Ford guy, and they've never made a decent head for a Ford small block, never. There's never even those not the Yates heads, but the Cleveland 4V heads.
Yes,
they're pathetic.
You still don't think they make a decent head for
No, they don't make that. None of those heads aren't any good. It's like those heads were designed with that big, huge port.
You're gonna ruffle some feathers with that one, my man. Some people are gonna be like, no, not that
but
motor. They got the AFR to
all they gotta do is listen. Okay, in the 70s, they wanted a small block head, something they could do. But NASCAR didn't really know where the port needed to be, what the location needed to be. So they made this gigantic port, put it in production. Now it's legal. They can put the port, when they cut that head, they can put whatever they want. Whatever size, curve, height, whatever they wanted, to miss the valve stem, whatever. But that's all that Cleveland head was. It was a big, huge head that when it went in about 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches, it was a huge ramp that went up. So the air had to hit that, go up, then bounce off the top of the port and come down.
So you think the Cleveland head was overrated?
Oh, it was
because you remember you had a '69 Cougar. You know what's up.
It was great for NASCAR because it made it legal for them to build up their head whichever way they thought they needed it. That's what it was. It was only around for a couple of years, and then they'd on to different things. You know what I mean? Now they got their Yates heads. That's all they need now. You know what I mean? They can do whatever else they needed, but they had to put that thing in production for a while so it would be legal. And I mean, they actually have a guy that makes intake gaskets for Cleveland heads that has a little flap that lays down, cuts the port in half, but it gets rid of that ramp. Well, I was talking about where it goes up like that. That flap sits down on top of that hill, so now the port is straighter and half the size. But you go out there talking to these guys, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, come on, man. But that's what a Cleveland head was about. So, like I go back to saying, they never had any heads
from factory.
Yeah, from the factory for a small block Ford. So now you're sitting here, you're porting world products cast iron heads. You know what I mean? You're out there with the iron, going to town with this thing, and you only got one set, so it's pretty much going to be about like this. You know what I mean? You don't have a whole palette of heads to find out which port design does it correctly. Because guys that do it, that's what they have. They go through, they might have 4 different patterns on one head, but it's all about finding the best one, and then you CNC, you get your little pattern made on it, and you hit the button, and that's what it makes through all of them. But as far as some guy sitting in the shed, cleaning up with an old burr you got from Harbor Freight and whacking on it, all 8 holes going to be different. I don't care what he does. Cardboard models, clay, anything that he does, that's all going to be different. All going to be different. And the thing about it, a little bit of difference, a lot of times don't even make that much difference. So it's like, cut your head, put it together, go out there and run it. It's not a good port design. It's not a good angle on the valve. And you're just wasting more time. You don't have a lot of time.
How do you think that carries over to drag racing?
That's what I'm saying. If dudes would come up with a plan about how fast of a car they wanted, buy the parts they needed, put their car together, they'd be done and out there going. But, Eddie's got a cam that sounded real good in his car, and he only wants $50 for it. And Slim over there, he's got a carburetor, a 4-barrel carburetor that used to be on his grandpa's boat, but it's still pretty clean. And he's got a set of headers that come off a truck, but if we move this one tube, it'll fit in my car. And this is what guys go round up, and they come to the shop with all this shit in a 5-gallon bucket, and they want you to put a motor together with it. And it's like, hold on a minute, man. Hold on. You're going about this all wrong. If you don't have the money to do it, stop. Find a way to get the money, get the right shit, and stop wasting everybody's time, including your time, because you're not getting it back.
I could agree. I could agree. That's solid
saying?
Advice right there. So make sure y'all listening. That's solid advice.
What's that saying? I'm not here for a long time.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah, buddy.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's the whole thing about it. So don't waste your time. So of course, being younger guys like y'all have no idea about wasting time. You don't even know nothing about it.
Man, I'm gonna try to learn. Look, like I said, Marcus, you said you had some issues with people wasting your time as far as paint. I can only imagine the type of time that's been wasted in your life over there, Scott.
Oh my God, so many people build cars, get halfway in it, and then all of a sudden, hey, look, we need to get a draw on this. Oh, my old lady spent all my money on patio furniture. What? Why your old lady spent my money?
Why your lady spent my money?
She don't come over here. Why she's no. But yeah,
do you feel like let's say if we move the dynamic to those who do finish cars, and I'm talking about the guys that got it, because I've seen I remember you built a car for a guy. I never saw the car personally, but I remember you hearing about. I heard from the owner of the car. You built this car and you ran a short time back in the day that was ridiculous, even by today's standards. Yeah. And it was an alcohol motor.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different deal. When you're getting stuff like that. But that's the thing. That guy was capable of having a plan, getting the right parts, and putting it together. The biggest problem he had was he was blind in one eye and had about 20% in the other.
So he couldn't drive it.
So he really wanted to do it. You know what I mean? He really wanted to do it. He would hustle. He'd get the money. We'd put a badass monster together. He'd go to the track. He couldn't qualify because he's all over the place.
Oh, so he was driving it. He was driving it.
He tried. He went a whole season trying to run the car, and he never qualified at one race. Then he come back and he's telling me, he says, "Hey man, you just take a look at the car. I can't get it to go straight. It won't do anything, blah, blah, blah." And we met him out at the track and went down the track, and I don't even remember touching the steering wheel. It was just straight haul ass, 674, some shit like that. I mean, it was fucking fast. And
what was the short time on that?
Oh, it's like a 108.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were running at a baby pro mod race, we call it. Those are the guys that they got pro mod cars but no idea.
Oh, pro mod.
So it's kind of like slow mod. You know what I mean? But they were out there with tires, as big as they get, and they wasn't hooking, and we were running a 33-10-5 W. I run those because I could get them at the track with 2 passes on them for $200, and put 4 or 5 passes on them and sell them again for $200. You know what I mean? Because when you're on a racing circuit like that, those guys are not going to take a chance on a $50,000 race with $600 worth of tires. You know what I mean? They'll put new ones on, for the finals. And those tires might, they don't have any runs. But you buy the tires like that and keep cycling them. You can't take a chance on losing money behind those stupid tire. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
But we had that small tire in the back of the car, small considered what they had, And I twirled out there in the thing and let the brake go. And I mean, I hit the back and took off and went about 1,000 foot. And then I thought maybe I hit the chute because it really slowed down so fast right at the top. And I mean, I got out the car. I was really happy. And at the whole top of the motor is ice. On the top it's all cold and it has no freeze out plugs, no radiator, nothing.
No radiator, no freeze out plugs, no nothing in the car.
Makes that kind of power, goes that fast, and don't run hot. It's ice on the top.
How was y'all delivering the fuel?
Just because of that, that's the supercharged. It's a blown 540 alcohol motor, and it makes a lot of power. Oh no, yeah. No, fuel injection.
Okay, it was
with the nozzles.
Okay,
all that craziness. I've never attempted to tune something like that. I know a guy that does it, and that's good enough for me.
I actually saw your motor the other day, man, and that motor was pretty ridiculous. It was like it was an old school setup, but it blew my mind. It was fuel injected. That was badass.
Yeah, well,
that was. We'll pull up a picture of the motor and we'll put it on the podcast. And
I thought about it. I thought about it back in the day when we ran so much nitrous. I mean, we were running 500 shot, 41 jets back in the 2000, 2001, and the guy that I used to work with on my motor, that used to do the work on the engine, Jim Kuntz, he told me, I said, I want to run 2 stages of nitrous. He says, how much? He said, I put like 300 shots. He says, well, why you want to get into all of that? He says, just run one and make it work. And I'm thinking, how am I going to do that? But, he figured it out after a while. One kit right off the brake and sent it on down. And I mean, that was a 2-bolt main 351 Windsor. It ran 826, 172 miles an hour at 3,000 pounds, race weight. So, I mean, nobody had nothing like that back then. But that particular setup was the carburetor. Then we got that other motor, which was actually smaller at the time. It was a 402 cubic inch motor, but it was $10,000 motor. Had a little trouble trying to make it work with the 2-speed power glide, because you got to get it all the way up there, you know what I mean? And we ran it like that, and I ran 760s with that, with piss poor short times, because of the power glide, trying to get it moving. But it was rolling out the other side, 188, 190 miles an hour.
That's wild.
Whole big difference. I mean, it's crazy, the difference from 169 to 172. Just that is a big difference. Then it goes 72 to 88. Whoa! I better do some work on this front end, because I mean, a guy like me, I really don't worry too much with everything except for how much power it's got. You know what I mean? And if we got it maxed out, we still gonna find some more, but we'll go ahead and paint it this week.
He said we'll go ahead and paint it this week.
Next week we'll figure out and put some more, figure out a way to make some more power with it. But it's really hard to try to break a car like that down and try to run a bracket race. It doesn't work.
Marcus, you think you're gonna build a drag car? Would you ever?
I don't think so. Honestly, I like it. It's not my thing.
It's not your thing.
Nah.
Well, you see, look, that's the thing about a drag racing car. You can tell when you're building a car for a guy, pretty quick. It's like when you're running a car and you get it all together, he goes to the track and he won't drive it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like they're nervous about it. They get up in the thing, won't put the trans brake on, just pull up to the thing, hit the gas and drive down the track. It's like, well, what? You know what I mean? He's not even really about that life. But then you get another guy and he will just flat drive the wheels off the car. You know what I mean? So it's pretty much like, if you ever thought about drag racing, you got to put your little car together, go to the track, and make a couple passes and see if you really want to do that. And if you really want to do it, guess what? You're gonna find a way, because it's like a drug.
He said it's like a
drug. Then believe me, you will become an addict really fast. I mean, it's a feeling when you coming through that top end like that. You're going that fast. I mean, it's like, man, I barely got this, and that's good.
And I think, like on my end of it, I like the feeling of like my car experience kind of started in California, so a lot of how I like view cars is like, based off of there. So that feeling that you probably get, I got that feeling driving through the deserts and the mountain, like
exactly.
So you're going around curves and there's no guardrail, like you mess up. Yeah. It's people that drop down and it's like,
That's the thing. Everybody needs to find their way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? Yep.
I could do that. So as far as where if we look at it, because racing can be it's very expansive, and they got some crazy racing out there. Like I find myself liking rally. You ever seen a rally race?
Yeah, I have.
That is some wild racing, man. That is
special stuff.
Yeah,
those dudes are hitting hills and their cars take it, going airborne, and the car is completely left and the car is going straight.
Yeah,
the driver's looking at the crowd. And he can wave, he can wave for a short moment. But what blows my mind the most about watching a rally race is the audience, the people watching. Because dude, you don't know how this car is about to come. Y'all got brass balls. You don't know how these cars are coming around that mountain. Boom.
Yeah.
And it's like, y'all not worried about getting hit. That blows my mind about rally. But those people, those are some drivers, man. Yeah. Some drivers.
A lot of miles. I mean, those guys they've been driving like that. They probably started out in go-karts, when it was kids.
Yeah.
Because I mean, anybody that can run that fast and know how to set that car up way before that curve. You know what I mean? Get it to go through that curve like that. It's like, man, that guy's he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And we were talking about this on a previous episode of like forms of racing and the experience needed. It's almost like with any sport, right? Some people would say boxing is a pretty simple sport, and I would argue I think boxing is one of the most hardest fighting.
Calculated.
Yeah, I think boxing is one of the most hardest fighting styles out there because
you're restricted to just your hands.
Then that alone, the rules. Mike Tyson said it best. He said, "You got to play until you get punched in the face." Yeah, I mean, imagine.
I've been in that situation before. Like, like I was testing out for black belt when I was in the Marines, right? And they put us against some sailors. And I'm feeling like, all right, I'm a badass, I'm going for my black belt, and these guys were golden gloves. And I went up against the guy, and dude, he hit me right here. I couldn't even breathe if I wanted to,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, checked you.
Yeah, he checked me, and then in reality, it's like, oh, this is what they're talking about, So, boxing is like, those people who can box, they really got hands. I don't sleep on them at all. So shout out to the Northeast area because those guys, they getting down.
I got a question for y'all. Since everybody at this table is a Marine,
I didn't know that.
You didn't know? Yeah, Scott's a United States Marine.
Long time ago.
So, do you feel like the Marine Corps played a part in honing your discipline, or did you think you already had it, and the Marine Corps brought it out?
I had it, and the Marine Corps really honed it. I could definitely say that because a lot of people in the Marine still are like, they don't have it. It'll hone them, but it's like either you got it or you don't. At the end of the day,
Right.
Yeah.
Mine's a little different. I was a whole fuck up. You know what I mean? Problems on the street, all the street racing things I was doing, everything else. And it got to the point where, my mom always had my back. I'd be in court with a whole bunch of problems that she'd be in there. And she made a deal with the judge. And because I was either going to have to go sit down for a little while
or go into the military.
I had to go to the military.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's old school.
That's old school. Yeah, they don't do that no more.
That's how I went. You know what I mean?
That's all the knuckleheads got in.
And believe me, they know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They know you was a problem. You know what I mean? So it becomes a problem. But that's the thing. It definitely let me see some things. You know what I mean? About getting your shit together and all of that, But
it'll as we say, square you away.
Yeah,
square you. You got squared away.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
It's like I think a lot of people get going right out of high school, college. They right into that killer job, making laying that straight paper down. 45, 50, they could retire. You know what I mean? Or start another job.
No
start another job. I'm sure they got them out there, but we don't get to see it. But anyway,
45, 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know people like that. They retire.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about 45, $50,000.
Got their money.
I was like, ain't no money.
Got the house. Got the cars. Got the 4-wheelers. They got the whole yard stacked up, and they done because they got off early. But like me, dude, I didn't hit on shit probably till 28, 29. Yeah. Fuck off. Just do what I want. The whole time, and then all of a sudden, finally, I got to where I wanted to start listening because I wasn't hearing nothing before that. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm seeing in my son now with Austin. Is he's finally, now that he's about 28, 29, now he's getting to the point where we talk a lot now. I call him up on the phone. We just sit there and talk. And for me, back when we was having them dudes, way back in the day when we was having the twins, Austin and Blaine, we was having them, I thought pretty much that when we had the shop, that we was all going to be in the shop getting down. I figured with what I was doing and what they were capable of, we'd have this shop turned loose. You know what I mean? We just had the whole place covered up. And it never did work that way. You know, never did come together. And
A dad can dream, though, brother. A dad can dream.
I know.
A dad can dream, man.
Fucking name, man. It's like now a little bit. You know, Austin is playing around a little bit. He's wanting to do some things, you know. So we're doing all that. He still ain't listening.
So he said he was building a Tesla cart. So that's pretty interesting. Look like he's taking after.
Yeah, now he's already looking at cutting that up and making a Tesla Ranger. You know what I mean? But it's like
that delivery.
You got to get that delivery going. You know what I mean?
Delivery.
You can't slow down. You got to keep moving, and got to keep going before you think of something else.
But as a dad, you think like the way your kids take after you. I know you got to just be happy that they're in the cars because I know both of them. And both of them are in the cars, and they're finding their way.
Yeah,
but I can see coming from a dad perspective, it's like, no, you're not doing it right. Yet you could be so much further than it. You know,
that's the hardest thing. It's like we went and see Blaine for Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
he got a nice big shop. Got all this little shit set up for doing his little videos and everything. He's got a couple cars in there working on. You know, he paid somebody to paint the car. Looks like they painted it with a Harbor Freight gun. Got problems all over it, and you can see that they tried sanding and polishing, and then those fluorescent lights are not going to let it go. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at the car. I said, man, you know, we could hit this thing up, you know, in a couple hours and polish it up, and it might look okay. It looks like he's got enough clear on here. You know what I mean? He just got enough problems also. You know, so I said, let's do it all. He didn't have a buffer, and then he started talking about, you know, next time I come down, bring the bender. You know, because he wanted to put a roll cage in his car, and I was like, "Yeah, all right. Put some pieces in, you know, the locks in the floor, and I'll bring it and put it up, and I can at least bend all the pipe, you know, a day, and get everything in there. We can start putting it together." And then he shows me that he just bought a new bender. You know, so now I just got to go there. I just got to make that 12-hour ride.
Ooh,
I hate it too, man.
Oh man, you better fly.
Oh, man. It's like if you put the headphones on and crank the music up and you're not distracted, you could go straight through like nothing. But if you try to just leave the radio on in the car and you got the noise and you're talking back and forth, you fall off your game and you start getting tired and start ducking your head and everything else. Well, that time you got to pull over for a little bit. And the whole time you're sitting there trying to get some sleep, you're thinking, man, I'm getting way behind. I mean, at least that's how it was when we were racing. You know, I had a guy that could drive for 20 hours, so I wouldn't sleep all week getting the car ready, and then he would drive us to the track.
Yeah,
you know, but that's the thing. But
I got a question. Mm-hmm. Who, as far as we're talking, I'm pretty sure you were a big inspiration in your kids' lives. As far as like them, Marcus, who is your like? Who do you look at like is doing it? I'm talking about both of y'all. Who do you look at like? When you see that person, it's like, man, they're really out there doing it and they're setting the bar for you. Who sets the bar for you?
For cars?
For your driver experience.
Driver experience? That's a tough one. Right now, I feel like I look on YouTube to, you know, see who's doing it. And I would say I'm going to drop a name, Stain Killer. I like his bills.
Okay, what does he? Oh, he does Fords?
Yeah, he does Ford. Oh, no, he calls himself the Stain Killer. But he's building the OBSs in there like just badass. He's dropping LT4s in them.
Oh, so he's a Chevy guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
these things are just badass. So I look at people like that because that's the path that I'm trying to go on, and I see him as my competition. You know, like for now. You know, like he.
Okay, so you looking at it like more of like a competitive bar, like a competitive bar.
Yeah.
Like okay,
oh yeah.
That's where he's at. That's what
I'm not on his level at all, but that for me, that's the bar that I need to work up to. You know.
What about you, Scott?
Well, you know me, I'm going to be completely against all of that.
I hear you.
It's like I think that anybody else that you think about it's a distraction on yourself keeps you from thinking of your own way. You know what I mean? Y'all get tied up in those YouTube videos and all that stuff and everything, and you start looking at what these guys are doing, and most of them's lying anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
A lot of them set false expectations.
It's like I've sat there and watched some podcasts and watched what these guys are doing. It's like, oh, yeah, it made 1,200 horsepower with this 5.3. And they blow it up, you know, it blows it up in the dyno room, and you freeze frame that and then go back and zoom in and see those aluminum rods laying on the floor. You know what I mean? It's like, why you want to tell dudes that anyway? You know, why you want to tell them all this stuff? Why don't you just want to help them and tell them how to do it correctly, how to do it safely, you know? But YouTube, yeah, they're going to stretch out because they're just trying to get likes.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to have a million 1 million likes for $7,000 or something like that.
I don't know. I don't even know what it,
Blaine
what
was
it
telling me
is.
about it the other day. I was like, a million people got to look at your deal.
But see, nowadays, I feel like the car world has changed, you know. So that guy, he's building like badass bills. So he's making his money off YouTube, which he's probably making more money off YouTube than probably the bills, you know. So like,
but think about it like this though. Now, if he starts getting banged up with all these followers, he's got all these people, he's got all this stuff going. Well, that's when you have jobbers coming in. Okay, when you see them guys get out there and they tear this motor up and they blow this shit and do all these stupid things.
Explain to them what jobbers are, Scott. Some people don't know what jobbers
are. Car part makers, dealers. You got people. They have exhaust systems. They have camshafts. They got heads. They got all this stuff. Well, those people will start to come to you. So you put your hat on, with whoever on it. Joe Blow and your hat. You got your jacket with somebody else, and then you got your T-shirt with the thing on it. And once you get those kind of things going for you, well, of course you got more money. But you still got to stay focused. It's like I really try to keep people away. If you want to watch a YouTube video, watch and see how they did it and what they do putting together to make that show. But don't use anything that they're saying. Come up, do your own thing. Work on your own thing. That's what's going to happen. Invest in yourself. You know what I mean? It's like you was asking a minute ago, who do you look up to? And it's like, man. Same dude brushing my teeth every day.
My man. My man.
I can't look to anybody else. You know what I mean? They're not going to help me. They're not going to help me at all.
I feel like in order to be well-rounded in the car industry, you got to kind of take something from everywhere, So out west, you can't knock a lowrider. If you ever see a lowrider in person, the level of detail that they go into it, like you can never knock it.
No, you can't. That's more. I don't think that's. I think that ties into a second thing. That's appreciating every aspect of the car industry, right? Versus like setting the bar.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate every aspect of the car. You know what I saw today?
Oh, I do too.
I saw a video.
I'll look at things to see what they're doing.
Just like sports. I think I'm not gonna knock what somebody says is a sport and what's not a sport. I'm not about to argue with that. Look, if there's anything to be competitive in, be competitive at it. I saw today a competitive forklifting where they stack up a bunch of stuff like tires and then there's like a cup on top or something. And then they have to like go on like a balance scale slow with this forklift. And then the scale starts to tip and the guy's just teetering and he's inching up on this forklift and he delivers the load and then he gets off and run. And I'm like, hey, dude, if it's competitive, it's competitive. I couldn't do it.
But that's how we get better with anything. It's like, I feel like as humans, we're always like
competing.
That's
the same. That definitely ties into racing, right? And if you look at drag racing right now, they are going fast.
Oh yeah.
It's like sixes. Like I remember when sixes was like, man, you run sixes. I remember we went to Gulfport. Scott, you were racing that day. That's why I was there. And I think we took some car. I don't know if it was. We took some car out there. And this guy came up on the track and he had the fastest time for the night. And I think the car we was working on, it was like something ended up happening on it. It was the first pass we made, and then y'all ended up having to work on the car. But the dude ran an 808 in a quarter mile. And I remember seeing this car go down the road. And I was like, whoa, this car goes down the strip, and it looked like it was on rails. And it was just the 808. They running 670s now. It's nothing. They running. But I think if I got into drag racing, I think an 808 would be as fast as 808 to me now is like, oh man, that's still fast. I wouldn't try to put an 808 on a street car, and I think a lot of people are getting that twisted. Some people want to run 8s on the street, or they're conflating street racing and track racing standards. They're conflating the standards. Oh, how fast does it go? Oh, it runs 8s. Does it run 8s on the street, or does it run 8s with a full setup at the trip? And that's a problem. Do you see that when people come into your shop? Are they like, oh yeah, I'm trying to do this, and you have to, I know your famous words, put them together.
Right, you got to put them together. I mean, and it's not like it's something wrong, but it's like you have to figure out what they want and what kind of budget they got. And then you can take them from there. But
What's the saying? You go as fast
tap
as you.
water budget, and like a champagne taste and tap water budget.
Oh yeah.
They got that one out there. That one runs freely because they watch a YouTube video and the dude reached in his toolbox and pulled out an old broken part, stuck in the car, and it flew. It's like, wait a minute, how'd that happen? But it makes people think, it makes them believe, and they get out there and do it. But they spend a bunch of money, it don't work, and then they just throw the whole project away.
CJ was talking about this when last time he was on the show. We were talking about how some YouTubers and some social media personalities can really set false expectations and start people on a project that they're never going to finish.
Yeah.
Granted, those people are making the decision to go build that car, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you pulled the trigger.
Right.
But where did that motivation stem from? Because we've all been there. We've all seen something that, like, oh, well, that's an interesting idea, and then it sparks an idea in your head and it makes you want to go after it, right?
Yeah.
And some of these people are, oh man, because like today, what are you saying? 1,000 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower this, 1,000 horsepower that. And it's like, do you really need 1,000 horsepower? Have you ever sat in a car with 1,000 horsepower? Yeah. You, the person really trying to, have you sat in a car with 1,000? Why are you trying to achieve 1,000? And then if you do make 1,000 horsepower, are you delivering it to the ground? Is your car going straight? Like, what is really going on here? Right?
Yeah. It's a whole package.
I've been in a 1,000 horsepower car that delivered, and I felt like I was on rails flying. And I've been in a 1,000 horsepower car that wouldn't even make it to the red light straight. The next red light, it's like, what is this, dude?
Dyno numbers.
Right. And then some of the people were lying. So look, I don't believe nobody. Me personally, if you come up to me telling your car is 1,000 horsepower, I'm gonna be like, cool story, bro, and keep walking. Keep it moving. Don't try to impress me. If you want to impress me, show me a car that's done.
Right.
Show me a car that's done. Show me a car that you put work in, and talk to me, because a lot of people come up to me and they try to talk like, "Hey, man, I got this," and look, everybody can't just talk cars with me. Yeah. And it's a funny fact because Scott, I've seen people come to the shop and try to, oh yeah, I got this, and he's better than me because I don't really want to listen to that. I know you're the same way. You'll get the shifty eyes and be like,
yeah, I can't. Yeah, can we wrap this up?
Can we wrap this up?
It gets tough sometimes.
Man, look, there was a guy. He was talking and he came in. Scott was supposed to do his truck, and the guy, I think Scott did some little work on the guy's truck or something, and the guy's sitting there. He was like, yeah, man, I'm trying to put an LS motor in it next, and and he was like, I'm trying to get the tow capacity up, and Scott will listen. Mm-hmm. And I admire him for that, because he's not gonna be like, oh no, Slick, you fucking up. He'll deliver it a different way, and he has tact, and that's another Marine Corps quality, right? Mm-hmm. Tact. And he told the guy, he was like, yeah, after this guy just went on a 5-minute rant about how his truck he gonna change the motor on it and it's gonna tow more. Mm-hmm. And like that's just how it works. Like that's just how it works. With a bigger motor, he can tow more. Your truck is small, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it'll pull it. I don't doubt it'll probably pull it, but is it gonna pull it down the road? Is it gonna pull it? You're gonna run into a whole bunch of issues. You don't have a tug, sir. Calm down. Yeah.
Is it gonna be safe?
Yeah. Is it gonna be safe? And the guy was like, Scott was like, man, what you trying to carry? I got this triple axle trailer and and the Scott, nah, man, I don't know about all that. And he said, you're going to run into all kind of problems. And then dude just sitting there and, with his Caterpillar hat and his overalls. And he says, nope, not that truck.
Yeah, not that truck.
I
told him, I said, man, all that weight, you're going to break the housing. You're on the rear end trying to haul all that. That house is not made for that kind of weight. That's what he said. Not that truck. I was like, what? Oh.
Send his ass down the road. Okay. Send his ass down the road.
Okay, well, when you get that going, then let me know. I'm going to see it.
Right. Let me know how that goes. So what I want to do is I just have a quick question for y'all. Is where do you see racing going? And do you plan on being a part of it as far as cars go? Like the direction cars are going. Are you cool where it's at? Do you have where you want to be in mind, or are you going with the flow? Are you going with these technological changes? Scott, your motor's fuel injected, and I never knew it was fuel injected the other day. I always thought you was a carbureted only guy, and that just shows how much I know, right? Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Mm. So fuel injected requires a lot. So these changes, I remember I was a carbureted guy only for a while. Mm-hmm. It was a long time ago, and those are my dark ages, is what I'm gonna call it. And we're not gonna talk about my dark ages, but do you think you are accepting of what's happening in the industry. You said you like the 10 speeds. I don't know if you know much about you're doing a 6L80 swap, right? Yeah. So you like these automatic transmissions. You like where the direction cars are going and what these manufacturers are putting out.
Personally, no, not. But I know that, I guess, people are talking about like climate change and stuff like that. So let's go electric. But that's a whole nother topic right there. Me personally, as a car guy, I don't like Teslas. They're cool, but it's just like driving an iPhone.
Let's not even bring EVs in. Let's talk about automotive performance, for fuel cars,
Well, right now, I would say what's leading would be Mopar, right? And as far as what the masses are buying, like Challengers.
Oh, I thought Dodge definitely put out some.
And those cars,
some high horsepower cars.
To me, it's a Mewtwo car, but
it's definitely a Me Too car.
You know what I'm saying? It's a Me Too car.
It's definitely a Me Too car.
And people aren't really building any cars anymore. They're just getting car notes, and which I'm not gonna say I can knock, but it's just not my thing at all.
What, car note cars?
Yeah, like cars like that is like, you buy it. It is already like a nice color. They might just put a sticker on the side.
Get your car note ass out of here.
And that's it. Pull the mufflers off.
Yeah,
some straight pipes on.
Yeah,
loud and raspy.
So you don't. That doesn't.
No, that not at all. Like I feel like as an enthusiast, build your car. Like it's really displaying.
So you don't think they're building their car? Like what if that they don't know any better? What if they just grew up and they saw somebody with a Corvette back in the day, and then they decided to go get a Scat Pack, and I'm gonna change the mufflers on it because that's what I like as an enthusiast. To them.
Yeah, but it's the generation too, because this generation, they can't even like shift or like write in cursive. That'll cripple an entire generation just doing that.
That's true.
So that's true. We come from a different generation. We've seen the carbureted side, and then we do see the EV, and we're like right in the middle. And for me, that's the perfect spot. So
you mean like the fuel side, and then now we see the EV side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But it's evolving, and I can't knock them because that's the generation that they grew up in. Like our generation, which is weird. You can kind of blame the car industry on this, but our generation, dude, when we graduated high school, that same body style Camaros, they're still making it, So, I
think that's trash. That's trash.
Exactly. Yeah,
they're repackaging the same shit over and over again. Granted, what it makes, 40 more horsepower? Mm-hmm. Oh, today we got, this year we got another 10.
That's at least a decade, So for some of these guys, they were around like, let's say 10 years old, they're 20 years old now. And it's just like, they want that car now because that's what they saw when they grew up, So
true.
But
versus like, especially in your days, Scott, I can only imagine. Yeah, manufacturers were changing cars every year. Yeah. Every year.
Till they got to that Fox body in '79 and ran it to '93.
Because it worked. Because it worked.
Yeah. It was once the aftermarket got on and built all them parts. We got to keep making these cars, and so they can keep selling those parts. Making these cars. Yeah, that was rough.
What's your favorite car, Scott?
My favorite car?
Favorite car. If you could have it tomorrow, what would it be? How would it be?
67 fastback with the 427 and the 4-speed. Old side oiler. Man, just running that thing around with that nasty transmission and running that thing shifting and everything. I mean, not as a race car, but I was like, if it was something you wanted to daily drive, I know it doesn't seem too practical, but you could put the fuel injection on, all the things that would make it better, you know what I mean? But I think that's a really cool car. But then I also like a 70 Chevelle.
Okay, didn't expect to hear that. I know he's a man for years.
70 Chevelle, man. I think that's the shit. And it's like I know a lot of people think the 67 Camaros and 69 Camaros is all about that. They must have just made a whole lot of those things because there's a lot of them out there. But I thought that the 70 model Camaro looked so much better. The rounded body lines and everything, how it was such a nice car.
The Camaro or the Chevelle?
The Camaro, 70 Camaro. I like the 70 Camaro and the 70 Chevelle, but I like the Chevelle better.
Okay.
It was a really classic.
I like the 70 Camaro a lot too. I like that split bumper, man. That thing.
That split bumper, that was so nice.
Guy too.
It looked aggressive.
I mean, I was that close to being a Chevy guy. I'm telling you, dude, I worked at a gas station here in town, and a dude had a black one with the silver stripes on it. Ton of Ram sticking out the hood, and it sat in the stall all the time. Oh man, cutting up like crazy and shit. And I was like, man, look at this thing. And I'm over there pumping gas, doing the old credit card receipts with the slide thing and all. And he said he was going to sell the car. And I mean, it was some kind of crazy thing like $2,500. Back in them days. And I I told my mom about it. I said, Mom, I'd really like to get this car. I got my job and everything. She says, well, we'll go take a look at it tomorrow. My dad, he'd been out of the picture. You know what I mean? But and we went over there and we got in this car, with this big block, with the tunnel ram and the 4-speed.
For $2,500.
And she gets out, she lets the clutch out on it, and it's like,
your mom is driving this car?
Jumping, like, oh yeah, she's got to check it out for me,
Oh, wow.
It's jumping, she's jumping all around, but she got out of it, left it right there in the street, and went back over and told him, said, oh no, there ain't no way.
Not that car.
Not that car.
Not that car.
Oh no, let's get the 69 Cougar out here with 256,000 miles. That's going to be a good race car.
Oh wow! And there went the Ford. There went the Ford life.
And then over to the Ford from there, and wasn't no looking back, as I kept seeing how the brainwashing that took place with the Chevy motors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the little bitty mains and all the bad things about that motor that I could look at the Ford motor and see that they were taken care of, except for the heads. Never had them. When they did come out with heads, it made it easy to make those motors look obsolete.
Yeah.
That's
interesting, man.
But if you was a Chevy guy, with all the parts that's out there for a Chevrolet engine, small block, and how cheap it is, how do you make this switch over to an LS motor? I don't get it. I mean, you can buy Motown blocks and all these crazy things you can get. I mean, you can build a balls to the wall small block Chevy for $15,000, and you can get all your machine work done on that LS for that much.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
It's just crazy money for all that stuff, and it's like,
I think a lot of people have a misconception that the LSs are cheap motors to do. They're really not. I think if you're going to swap it and you're going to go to the junkyard, pull a motor.
Right. It's cheap. It's cheap because there's so many of them there. You know what I mean? So you go get this motor and you.
I don't think it's a cheap motor to build.
Put a cam in it. And I mean, I've run them on the dyno back when they weren't even cool. When they first came out, we was playing with them and run them on the dyno and make about 350, 360 on the motor. Just straight up. And then put the cam in it, make another 100. But then after that, it got tough.
It got tough.
But I feel like with the
trying to
LS
go any
is
faster than that, you had to spend money. You know what I mean?
The dollar per horsepower, you can't really, like.
What do you mean?
As far as how much it takes to really get a good amount of horsepower out of the LS, like in my little experience with it, like it doesn't really take much. Like depending on
I think what Scott said is right. It holds value. I think with the small block for the dollar,
the race to 450. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The race to 450 horsepower. You know what I mean? It's just
not
trying to get a 383 to make 400 horsepower. You got to do it right, and not many people do.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can get the power out of anything. It's just an air compressor, and it's just got to be cammed right and tuned correctly. And it's going to work.
The 6.2 comes with 440.
But to just look at a
really.
The 6.2 is 440 off the
just to look at a motor and say, oh,
I never
it's an
looked it up.
LS.
That's crazy. That's cool.
Yeah. So what is Marcus? What is your if you could have a car anyway, what would it be tomorrow?
I mean, I kind of already got it, but it will be that '69 Camaro.
Okay.
Like bow tie, no tie. I'm
Bow tie, no tie.
Yeah, I'm a Chevy guy to the bone, man.
Bow tie, no tie.
I do like Mustang. I'll give a Mustang a pass, and of course, I like.
You got a Mustang.
Yeah.
You got a Mustang.
But that '69 Camaro, like if you've ever seen it in person, like you see it on, but me seeing it in person for the first time, it just looks so like just the curves on it, and the front grille. It looked futuristic, but why I thought it looked futuristic is because the Camaros nowadays are based off of those, But that car, for me, was just ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And I like, if I were to have it my way, like I'm building it, 6.2 with a twin screw on it, just because I want to hear the whine, and Pro Touring because I want to drive my car across country, through the desert, through the mountains and back,
Yeah, I respect that. I respect that. I respect when somebody wants to build a car that's usable instead of just and that's why I don't sit well with purists. And it's not because of me. It's because of them. Just for the record, like I'll sit there and talk cars with anybody that is worth having a conversation with about cars.
Yeah.
But the moment you start telling me, oh, you're gonna fuck it up.
Yeah.
How about fuck you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't tell me how to build my car. I won't tell you how to build your car. Exactly. Like if it doesn't work for you, great. It doesn't work for you, but don't tell me I'm fucking up, because how I chose to do my car that I pay. Like I don't want, but it had the factory blue and man.
Okay, you know, like
now you're getting into the Ryan situation. You got the blue lines on the hoses from getting inspected down the assembly line. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, that's it. Look, I found
the older school guys, like 10, 15 years older than me. I did a lot of work on their cars in the days. And back in the day, you had all these guys that wanted the numbers matching cars. It's got to be all numbers matching.
For what? For what though?
They're pretty much gone now. I don't get too much hassle from those guys anymore. But yeah, they come in and want all this stuff all back, like this and all that. And I would tell them, it's like, look, what you going to do with the car? Oh, I just want to ride around here, go there and go there. I said, okay, well, go to Copart and get you a late model car. If you're a Dodge guy, go get you one of them Chargers or something that then are wrapped around a pole. You know what I mean? Go there and pick it up cheap and take the whole drive line and put it in your 66 Barracuda. You know what I mean? And
it ain't like that.
Be driving just like a regular car.
It ain't like that.
Oh, no, they got a 318 that they got to put a cam in and, oh, God damn it.
Oh, man.
Here we go. It's
here we go.
That thing ain't never going to run. You know what I mean? Never.
He said never going to run. Yeah.
Hey,
Dodge guys are a special breed, though. It's like I talk to them. Whenever you talk to one, you always want to ask them about the engine.
Yeah.
And they're always talking about they got they got the stroker kit and all that. They got this. They got these rods. They got these pistons. They got all this stuff. What head you got? Oh, I got a set of Dick somebody iron heads that was ported. Because they don't have the heads.
It's like Chevy doing new camel humps.
Like the old camel humps. But the whole thing about a camel hump head that people don't realize, the guys that used to run those motors $10,000, okay, the center divider in the head. The ports right next to each other. The center divider was gone. Through the intake, down through the head, about 2 inches before the valves is where the center line came. So you got a port this big. You know what I mean? You can't port a camel hump head, big enough to rev those kind of RPMs because you're going to go into the push rod slots. But you take that whole center out and make both ports one. Now you got something.
Now you got something.
But yeah, they'd kick them things up, man, $10,000 and run them down the track, and all they could do to run, some high tens back in the day. But yeah, that's what people go by: 3/4 cam and some camel hump heads.
3/4 buck.
Man.
But to answer your question, Marcus, what will be my
what's your
if I could have it tomorrow? Man, I think no. Here we go. Well, I kind of got. I have a lot of the cars that I've always wanted. I'm only missing. I'm missing one. I'm missing one. Like I think it'll be a '62 bubble top Bel Air.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
'62 bubble top Bel Air. Nice suspension.
62.
Yep. It could have a modern motor, and it doesn't. As long as it makes a little bit of power, it doesn't have to even go crazy fast. I don't have to whoop. I don't have to whoop anybody's ass. I just,
What about it? What about it that makes you love it?
The lines, man.
Yeah.
The line. My first classic car was now by today's standard, my Regal, my very first car is a classic car now. But then it was, I guess it was a classic. It was an 86 Buick Regal.
Yeah.
And I guess it was a classic then. But like my first build I ever did was a 62 Impala. Yep, 62 Impala. So, and after I bought, you ever had a car and then you found out about the other ones?
Yeah, yep.
You found out about the other ones and you're like, God damn, I done messed up.
I got
Tell me.
Biscayne.
Yeah, right.
Back to get a plan and finish it.
There you go.
Can't sit there and think about it. Don't hold it.
Yep. Hey, look, if you go get it, finish what you got. But for me, it'll be the bubble top Chevy Impala, man. Okay. With just a modern motor, it doesn't have to whoop anybody's ass as long as it's super clean.
Yeah, just clean.
Low, smooth cruising. I think
what color?
Now. Black with the red interior.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. I saw one recently. The guy had it was Impala though. This one it wasn't a Bel Air. So for me it'd be a 62 bubble top and Bel Air. Sorry.
Okay.
And I've only seen a couple. I've only seen a handful. I've seen a couple conversions. Yeah. People do the Impala conversions, but they're not.
Are they spot on?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
They're heinous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're heinous. So yeah, that would be for me. But I really appreciate you guys coming out. Scott, Marcus, could you tell these listeners and viewers how to reach you, how to find you?
You follow me on Instagram at King B Mock.
Instagram, yeah, on Instagram, but completely unprepared for this.
Oh, you don't know your Instagram? It's all right, brother. You got to whip out that phone. It's all right.
Instagram, Scotrod HP. I mean, they probably got some numbers for it or something, but yeah, it's just Scotrod HP.
Scotrod HP. We'll go ahead and put his information in the description for both of y'all. Y'all can find these guys right up underneath in the description. Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming out. It's been a great show.
Appreciate you having us, man.
Yeah.
No problem.
Good
Thanks for delivering on this driver experience. It was great to take us through your experience and walk us through how you got started.
Awesome.
See you next time.
All right, man.